Working Man Radio.
Your soul is dog.
That's right.
You're an emotional fucking
That's right.
I don't know any more than what I'm telling you, other than why. I thought I was thinking why.
That's right. It's time for Rush Limbaugh's Lie of the Day.
Every single thing about you is ugly.
Limbaugh ran across a story the other day about gun rights, gun violence. We're not going to talk about gun violence. That's not, I stay out of that. But it did give him an opportunity to talk about the war of ideas. So anytime Rush Limbaugh wants to talk about the war of ideas, I'm there, baby. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Now, what's interesting is if you read this thing, you quickly figure out something that you and I both know. They can't win in the arena of ideas. They cannot win a debate of their ideas versus ours. So what they have to do is come up with fake imagery and words, if you will, to incite emotions to get their way. They do not even try to win a debate of ideas.
We start off with, this is one of the most pernicious tactics that this man uses. And it's called projection. He tells you what he does and accuses you of doing what he does. I mean, well, I just used the examples. If we allow gay marriage, next you'll have man-on-dog sex. That's what they argue. Now, doesn't that sound like trying to push emotional buttons? Who's pushing emotional buttons? Waving the bloody shirt about Mexican criminals coming up here. If we allow amnesty, we'll have Mexican criminals coming up here. Isn't that way? Is this not fear-mongering? You remember Rudy, a noun, a verb, and 9/11. That was his stump speech. 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. The Arabs are coming to get us. The Muslim, the Muslim boogeyman. And he wants to sit around and he wants to tell you that Democrats engage in fear-mongering. Meanwhile, Republicans, he is indulging in another Republican fantasy, and it isn't just him. Republicans, they think that they're the intellectuals. If you show them a Democratic intellectual, well, those pin-headed intellectuals are trying to talk to us like we're stupid. But the Republicans think that they're actually the superior intellectuals, that their ideas are better, that their ideas work better. And this is the fantasy they indulge themselves in, and I will concede to Mr. Limbaugh that Democrats do not fight in this arena very often. Democrats tend to come up with policies that they want: universal health care, single-payer health care. It works. It's called Medicare. Works good. Try to run against it, Mr. Limbaugh. People like democratic policies. And Republicans spend their time trying to come up with principled reasons why we just can't do that. Well, it's a matter of principle. It's a matter, our ideas, those unintended consequences, it won't work. But Social Security did work. And Medicare does work. And the minimum wage worked. And labor unions worked. And the 8-hour workday worked. And the Tennessee Valley Authority worked. And student loans and grants worked. And FHA housing mortgage subsidies worked. And the GI Bill of Rights worked. And it worked when we went to the moon. And interstate highways work. And the Clean Air Act worked. Mr. Limbaugh takes credit for the fact that, well, we have clean air and clean water in this country because we care about these things. Right, thanks to the Clean Air and Clean Water Act that you oppose. Go to a third world country where they don't have a Clean Air Act and they don't have a Clean Water Act. They still sell leaded gasoline in places like the Philippines. They still sell leaded gasoline. They sell leaded gasoline in China. They don't have a Clean Air Act. You want to talk ideas? Let me give you an idea that doesn't work. It is the Republican signature idea. It's called trickle-down economics. And trickle-down economics doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're wrong on your idea, Mr. Limbaugh. You're wrong about understanding what trickle-down economics is. There's no such thing. The rich spend their lives trying to keep wealth from trickling down, not trying to cause it to trickle down. They spend their time trying to hang on to their wealth and, well, more importantly, hang on to their position. And that's why when their party, the party of the wealthy elite, which is the Republican Party, the Republican Party represents the capitalist elite, the capitalist ruling class of the United States. That's who they represent. And when the Republicans are in power, you know what we get every time? We got it under Herbert Hoover. We got it under Dwight D. Eisenhower. We got it at the end of Nixon and Ford's administration. We got it at the end of Reagan and Bush 1's administrations. And we got it at the end of George W. Bush's administration. Every time, every extended period of Republican control of the White House ends in recession and high unemployment. Eisenhower left office with 6.5% unemployment. Ford left with 7.5% unemployment. After 12 years of Republican rule, George Bush 1 left with 7.3% unemployment, and George W. Bush left with 7.6% unemployment. Compare that to 2.5% unemployment that Truman left Eisenhower. Compare that to the 3.5% unemployment that Johnson left Nixon. Compare that to the 4.2% unemployment that Clinton left George W. Bush. And this is what the Republicans watching are now doing. Yeah, you notice he left out Jimmy Carter. I didn't leave out Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter left the same 7.5% unemployment he inherited from Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford left him 7.5% unemployment. No, he didn't clean up Gerald Ford and Richard Nixon's mess. No, he didn't. I'm sorry. Sorry. And the conservative wants to pretend like that one Democratic crummy economy outweighs every Republican crummy economy, because every Republican economy is crummy. Every one of them. Stagnant, slow growth. That's what they create every time. You want to talk war of ideas, Mr. Limbaugh? Let's talk war of ideas. Let's talk about results. Let's talk about what do your ideas get us? What have your ideas ever got us? What did we have? What did we have on January 20th, 2009, 4.5 years ago? What did your Republican ideas net us? We cut taxes. Is your big idea cut taxes? Let's cut some taxes. I've got Limbaugh. I've got him. I've got quotes. I may find them. I may incorporate those quotes in today's show.
Consumer spending is the fastest way to get us out of this, and therefore what we conservatives would do would be to cut taxes. If we had our way, we'd wave a magic wand in front of the president-elect, and we'd have him cut the corporate income tax rate. We would have him cut the capital gains rate.
Let's cut some taxes. That's the way to stimulate the economy. We cut taxes under George W. Bush. And what did we get? 7.6% unemployment. George W. Bush had the second worst average GDP growth in history, in the history of the measurement of gross domestic product. The top three economic growth presidents, Kennedy and Johnson, Truman, Clinton. That's ideas, folks. There's the test and the mark and the experiment. Pardon me, the experience of real life, real world experimentation. And the result of the experiment is Republican ideas don't work. I know that. I looked those numbers. I looked up the unemployment numbers and said, that's interesting. Democrats seem to do better. Okay, I went and looked up GDP growth. That's interesting. Democrats seem to do better. I went and looked up job growth. The Democrats, since World War II, have created 59 million jobs. Since World War II, Republican administrations have presided over the creation of 34 million jobs. Let's talk ideas, Mr. Limbaugh. Let's talk results. Let's talk experiments. Let's do some experiments on those ideas. Let's put those ideas to the test. Oh, wait, we did. They don't work. Here's your messaging. If you want to talk messaging, this is the messaging. Are you watching me? Are you watching me? And do you want to beat Rush Limbaugh? Do you want to beat his message machine? Write these numbers down and tell them to everybody you meet every chance you get. Turn it into a television fact. Something that everybody knows. Make sure that everybody knows that Republican policies have always inevitably led to stagnation, slow growth, and recession. That's the messaging that people need to know. And if Mr. Limbaugh wants to debate ideas with me, I'll take him on. Oh, by the way, he never debates anybody. But if he wants to debate ideas, I'll take him on any day of the week. I'm Joe Lyles. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
You've been listening to Working Man Radio with Joe Lyles at joelylesradio.com.
Your soul is dope.
The Rush Limbaugh Lie of the Day, 5 days a week at joelylesradio.com.
Every single fucking thing about you is